All right, this is my compensatory 5 minutes of John Kasich, who doesn't have a clue and, in my opinion, doesn't have a chance at this nomination. I don't care if it's on the first ballot, which obviously it won't be, and it won't be on the last ballot because this guy, he's just not going to get there.
Turn now to the candidate who's banking all his hopes on a contested convention. I spoke to John Kasich from Wisconsin Saturday afternoon, and we began with the topic Donald Trump put front and center this week, abortion.
Well, George, I hope they do repeal Roe v. Wade, and then, it'll be up to the states to decide how they want to proceed. It'll be up to them to figure out what they want to do, and that's precisely what we would do.
But you said there are legitimate and constitutional restrictions that could be put on abortion. What are they?
Well, George, when you say constitutional restrictions or whatever,
those are your words.
I would tell you is I don't know when I said it or why I said that in particular, probably out of context, but.
Yeah, it's always funny when you don't remember what you said and somebody tries to bring it up. So, anyway.
Look, I am opposed to abortion and accept the case of rape, incest, and life of the mother. I hope Roe v. Wade will be repealed, and then it will be turned to the states, and the states will have to figure out exactly what the restrictions ought to be, period, end of story.
So, but if you believe that abortion is taking of an innocent life, how would you enforce a ban on that activity?
Well, that'll be up to the states to figure out what they want to do. And, obviously, when we have seen these comments that have come out earlier this week, it's the first time I've seen the pro-life and the pro-choice people come together to say, that we'll have to basically work this out, and trying to punish a woman would not be the appropriate way to behave. And I think it's going to take people in a reasonable way working through it.
But why isn't it appropriate? If you believe that abortion is the taking of innocent life, why shouldn't a woman who makes the choice to take that life face some kind of punishment or sanction?
Because I think it's difficult on her to begin with. That's the way I feel about it, George, and that's the end of it.
See, that's bullshit, because either it's a crime or it's not. And if it's a crime, according to the justice system, there must be punishment. And see, that's what all these Republicans want to dance around, the fact that if abortion is illegal, and you have one, you have committed a crime. And see, now they know that that won't sell with women, so they want to try to push it off on the doctors. But that's bullshit too, because if the woman doesn't come to the doctor, then there's no possibility of the crime. So the woman is the one who initiates the action, and the doctor is the one that completes it. Now, if you want to say both of them are guilty of a crime, have at it, Hoss. But as far as I'm concerned, these guys are trying to have their cake and eat it too. And with him claiming that if he can get Roe versus Wade overturned, and he drops it down to the states, obviously you're going to have states that are democratically controlled allowing abortion, and setting their own rules, and you're going to have states that are Republican controlled not allowing abortions. So there's going to be a very, very wide disparity on the treatment of women in context of state-to-state residency, which is exactly why Roe versus Wade had to be approved, so that there was uniformity in the allowance for abortions. Now, you got the various Republican-controlled states that are setting all of these quote-unquote rules, such as in Texas, which makes the facilities where abortions are performed have to comply with basically hospital-level facilities, which is a way for them to shut these things down, quote-unquote, legally. But that's going to end up going to the Supreme Court, and that's going to get knocked out as well. But he's dodging. Now, he's also the governor of Ohio. And as the governor of Ohio, he still won't answer.
Even if it follows that a woman is there making the choice to take a life.
Look, I've said what I have. I've said what I have to say about the subject, George. You know how I have behaved both as a legislator and as a governor, and I would like to have those exceptions. I would like to leave it to those exceptions, and it'll be up to the states to decide how they want to handle this.
Do you believe doctors who perform abortions should be punished?
We're going to leave this up to the states to work this out the way they want to, George.
So you're not going to take any position on doctors or on doctors facing punishment?
Right now, let me just put to you, this way I'm not. Today I'm not. I've just told you how I feel about it.
So if you're still...
So he's completely ducking the question, but then George hits him because he's already the governor of the state of Ohio. So it's legitimate to ask him exactly what he would do if it was dropped down to him in Ohio, and he still is going to duck and dodge.
The governor of Ohio, what would you seek to do?
Work with the legislature to figure out what there's a good consensus to do. Look, in Ohio, we have made sure that that we have transfer agreements. These are things that we've done, and I've been very careful about making sure that we don't pass something that's going to cause a constitutional conflict, which is, I think, what you were referring to, so that the restrictions that we've put in place are going to be fine. And I think we've behaved there and conducted ourselves appropriately.
Can we move on to the situation in Wisconsin? You've been facing some ads run by a super PAC supporting Senator Ted Cruz. Here's what they're saying.
The John Kasich playbook. Folding for a last-second shot and blocking out the grassroots. But that's classic John Kasich. Millionaires working side by side with George Soros of bankrolling his super PAC, while Kasich votes against the Second Amendment and expanded Obamacare in Ohio, costing taxpayers billions.
What do you make of that?
I think it's funny. Look, George, you know politics. You've been in it. You're a very smart strategist. It's what you put up with in a campaign. And of course, it distorts virtually everything. In fact, the Wall Street Journal, in an editorial the other day, said it was actually a smear. But look, I've spoken out. I've said what I want to say. But frankly, I'm interested in talking about my record of job growth, of creating security for people in the workplace, getting better wages, and making sure our kids have a better future and a better tomorrow. And that's where I'm going to live. I've had some pretty strong things to say a couple days ago in regard to Trump and some in regard to Cruz, but I don't live in that lane. I live in a different place because I have a record of accomplishment. Interesting in Wisconsin, that they did a survey the other day, and 38% of the people in Wisconsin have no opinion of me. They still have not heard much about me, which shows that we have...
What it shows is you're doing a piss poor job of getting your name out there, and you've been running for I don't know how many months, and just people just picking up the national news should have learned something about you. So, whatever you're doing, you're not doing a good job.
So much room to grow, and we're concentrated in those areas where we think we can do well, and we are very excited about heading to New York, where I've learned not to eat pizza with a fork, and where we're running first or second in virtually all the congressional districts, and we're virtually tied with Donald Trump in Pennsylvania. We're starting to get to more home turf for me.
You still won only one state, however, and as you know, under the current rules of the Republican National Committee, your only hope is to get to a contested convention, but under the current rules, you wouldn't even be eligible for the nomination because you haven't picked up a majority of delegates in 8 states. It doesn't appear that you're going to be able to do that. So how do you intend to get that rule changed?
There's no way for him to get that rule changed, and he's going to sit here and try to bullshit somebody because as stupid as Trump and Cruz are, they're going to have the majority of the delegates that are going to be on the Rules Committee, so they're going to effectively lock this guy out, so he won't even get onto the first ballot.
Well, first of all, George, I'm not going to spend time on process. I have some of the best process people, whether it's John Weaver or Charlie Black or Stu Spencer, but there are no rules governing the next convention. The rules have not been set, and we'll see what a Rules Committee decides to do. But I expect that we're going to be gaining momentum, picking up delegates, and heading into the convention. And George, look, there's 2 strong things I have going for me. Number one, I beat Hillary Clinton in virtually every poll. I'm the only one that does it on the Republican side. And secondly, when they look at the record, of job growth, the record of international foreign policy knowledge and experience, I believe that a convention will look at somebody like me, and that's why I think I'm going to be the nominee. We just have to keep going, and we're going to have an open convention. And George, you're the guy that gets open conventions. It's going to be so much fun. Kids will spend less time focusing on Bieber and Kardashian and more time focusing on how we elect presidents.
I thought you liked Justin Bieber, but you say it's going to be fun. But we just heard from Roger Stone, an ally of Donald Trump, who says he's going to be organizing what he calls days of rage protests to prevent the convention from stealing the nomination from Donald Trump. Are you worried about what could be a violent protest or days of great unrest in your home state?
Just so I don't forget about it, my bullshit meter went off right after he went through that minute and a half bullshit explanation about how he's going to possibly be able to get the nomination. You know, if you can't nail him with facts, then you have to baffle him with bullshit, and that's exactly what Kasich is doing. He's trying to baffle everybody with bullshit.
Well, George, you know, look, we prepare for all occasions, but let me also tell you, I went to a convention in 1976 as a young man and actually worked directly with Governor Reagan at the time. And when delegates go to a convention, they're old hands. Some of them are legislators. Some of them have worked in the vineyards helping people to get elected. And when they go into the convention, something magical happens to them. They begin to feel the real weight of decision making in regard to who wins in the fall, and secondly, this one's serious, who could be president. Because they begin to realize that they are going to be held accountable and they are responsible for making sure we pick somebody who can be commander-in-chief, leader of the free world, and can beat Hillary Clinton in the fall. And I'm the only one that consistently does it.
So basically what he's saying is he's not for the democratic process of the people picking the nominee. He's basically out for these 2,400 and change delegates making the choice of who the Republican nominee is. That's un-American.
Okay, we're hearing the pitch you're going to make at the convention if you get there. Governor Kasich, thanks for joining us this morning.
I'm going to get there, George. We'll go together. And I'll be running and you'll be reporting. We'll be there.
And let's get more on this.
Is that the kind of guy that you want as President of the United States? I rest my case.